Hi, I'm Chantrice Parks, licensed marriage and family therapist, and one of the therapists at Couples Learn. Oftentimes, individuals who have experienced trauma don't even realize that they've experienced it. Typically, when we say the word trauma, people think about gun violence, natural disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, and sexual assault, physically abusive parents, or an abusive partner. Those things are indeed potentially traumatic events, but they're not the only types of trauma that a person can experience. Being abandoned or neglected, made to feel like you're not worthwhile in a relationship, all of those things are pretty traumatic too. And for individuals who've experienced those things, they have the same response in their body, that fight, flight, freeze, hyperarousal, hypervigilance, that individuals who've experienced some of those other traumas we mentioned go through. For a lot of folks who experience the response that comes with having had traumatic experiences in early childhood or your family of origin, often you don't recognize that you experienced that at all because the caretakers that were in your life really minimized how harmful or hurtful their reactions or responses to you were, in a way that made you feel as though it's no big deal because that's the message that was communicated to you. Just because that message was communicated to you doesn't mean that it's right. And the responses that individuals have in their body, in their perceptions, and in the beliefs that develop from that dysfunction in your family of origin definitely have an impact on life and relationships in a way that can oftentimes stop you from getting the love that you crave. When you've had a traumatic experience in a relationship or several traumatic experiences in a relationship, you find yourself responding in a way that's more reactive than it is a conscious response in a relationship. It stops you from being able to authentically communicate what your needs are, or even to recognize how valuable you are in a relationship. All of those things are wounds that need to be healed. And when you come to work with us at Couples Learn, we help you do just that. Recognize what was wrong in the past and what you can do to overcome it, walking alongside you the entire time. Some of the effects of trauma include feeling hyperarousal in your body, going into that fight, flight, or freeze response when you're not even aware of what triggered you in the environment, having flashbacks to conversations that were had where you felt particularly undervalued, verbal abuse that you experienced, having nightmares, insomnia, and inability to sleep, having difficulty establishing a feeling of being safe in a relationship where you're connecting with someone who on paper is great, and yet you still don't have a felt sense that you're really secure with this individual. Overworking, excessive use of alcohol, out of control sexual behaviors, all of those things can be indicators that you may have some unresolved trauma. The goal of trauma therapy is really to help you to experience optimal health and wellness on the other side of your trauma. Through trauma therapy, you get to understand what are some of the things that happen in your body when you're having a trauma response and bring your body back to a relaxed baseline state. Trauma therapy also gives you the ability to communicate your needs and to establish healthy boundaries, which is essential when recovering from trauma. When you work with a therapist who can provide you with trauma-informed care, that therapist can help you to identify what those patterns were in your childhood, the ways that others related to you or cared for you that were not so helpful or healthy. That therapist can help you to develop the tools and the awareness to overcome those things in a way that can allow you to be successful, not just professionally, but interpersonally as well. Trauma therapy also helps you to have a more balanced perspective about the world. Yes, life and relationships are not always safe, and there are inherent risks involved in opening your heart up to another person. But on the other side of trauma therapy, you can more healthily assess those risks. And using the ability to communicate and the ability to establish healthy boundaries, you can balance those risks in a way that allows you to achieve love that you want. You'll know trauma therapy is working when you find yourself not activated in having that trauma response to things that are not actual life and death stressors. You find yourself being able to interact in a relationship and read cues to determine whether or not someone is safe and secure. You find yourself feeling worthwhile and valued and no longer questioning those things. And you also find yourself able to communicate your wants and needs expressing healthy boundaries, establishing them, and holding them with regularity. On the other side of trauma therapy, you find yourself living a full life. To learn more about working with one of our trauma-informed therapists, go to coupleslearn.com and book a free 30-minute consultation. We look forward to supporting you on this journey.